Hello YouTube, Dave here again. So I wanted to do another just quick video, and this is another DM's Guild Spotlight. This is a little bit different than the other DM's Guild Spotlight videos that I've done in the past. The main reason is most of those other videos I was showing off products that I didn't own yet. Some of which were ones that I wasn't necessarily planning on getting right away, and others were things that I'd ordered but just hadn't received, and I wanted to raise awareness of them. This week, two books had come out that I actually do have, and so I'm just going to show the original physical copies, but let you know that if you go to DM's Guild, through DriveThruRPG, or even just the DriveThruRPG website itself, you can now get these things for print on demand. The PDFs have been available, I think, for a while, but I'm mainly interested in the print on demand service. So the first thing that we have is probably, in my opinion, one of the best adventures ever released for 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons, or 3.5. This came out in 2006, and it is the Red Hand of Doom. Now, I'm going to be honest, I haven't read this in detail in probably about a decade now. It's been quite a while. So this is not going to be a review of the adventure itself, but the basic premise is that a tribe of goblinoids had been sort of taken over by worshippers of Tiamat. And with the combination of like the cultists of Tiamat and the goblinoids, as well as like dragon spawn creatures that they've created, an army is now threatening the region known as the Elsir Vale. And it's up to the heroes to essentially try to protect the local area, to protect the towns and villages from this goblinoid incursion and the advancing army of these Tiamat worshipping sort of fanatics. And so there's a lot of, it's broken down into different chapters with different objectives, but one of the things that I really like about this book overall is the way that it deals with trying to take care of this army. So instead of having the player characters fight like the army head-on sort of thing, and instead of having them worry about mass combat with units and formations and squadrons and stuff like that, what you have is you have the player characters trying to achieve objectives, in order to build their own counter army, basically, to try to find some allies and bring all like the villages and towns together sort of to help repel the goblinoids, as well as some other tasks. And the way that they determine whether this is going to be enough to swing the tide or to swing the pendulum of battle is by awarding victory points, or I guess they call it alliance points. And the cool thing about that is just it's a way of having the player character's actions directly affect the battle itself. So the alliance points, I think, were to help build the army, and then you've got victory points from when the actual main siege happens. And just a really, really well done system, and something that I think is, again, it just makes for one of the most unique adventures to come out around that time, just in terms of like the scope of what it was doing, as well as the way it went around doing it. Like, for example, gaining certain allies can earn you victory points. Defeating particular villains can also earn you victory points. You need to gain so many. Like, you have to get, I think it says right here, have to get 40 victory points to basically break the army. And the fewer points you get, the worse things kind of get. There is, an option for defeat in there as well, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the adventure. Now, this kind of system has been used since as well, but I think this is one of the first examples of an adventure using the victory point system in 3rd edition and 3.5 Dungeons & Dragons. So again, just a really, really excellent adventure, and like I said, my favorite of all the 3rd edition ones that had come out by Wizards of the Coast. This is, I think, miles and above one of the best ones that they ever did. So I can't recommend this enough. It's for characters level 6 through 12, and I don't think it would be that difficult to rework it to work with 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. One thing I will say, if you do plan on getting the print-on-demand version, which is something I would recommend if you're interested, and again, I will do a proper review of this adventure within the next couple of weeks, hopefully. But at this point in time, I just kind of wanted to let you guys know that this was available. But if you do get the print-on-demand version, you should be aware that it did come with a pull-out poster map, and it's a pretty big map here. I'm not going to show it in full detail, just because it's big and unwieldy. And again, this isn't the full review, but I mean, just so you can kind of see, it is a fairly large double-sided map. It actually even has an extra, was it 2 or 3 squares there that it folds over even, you know, so it's actually larger than a lot of the other poster maps were back at that point in time. So like I said, a very, very big map. If you get the print-on-demand version, typically speaking, the print-on-demand will have the maps scanned as individual pages and just put in the back of the book. So you can like take like a razor knife if you wanted to and cut them out, which is not how I would recommend doing it. So you're not going to get like the full map like this. It will be individual pages. However, you can bundle the PDF with the physical copy, and it usually only costs like an extra $1 or $2 more. But with that, you get the PDF file, so you could just take, you could put it on a thumb drive, take it to a print shop, and you could print off the maps for, you know, pennies on the, like the staples here would be like 25 cents, I think, or something like that per page. Or you could even go a little bit cheaper and print them off in black and white. But if you do get this adventure, I do recommend bundling the PDF along with it and printing off the map pages yourself. That way you've got, you know, you can put them all together as a full-size map instead of having just the individual pages. So that's what I'd recommend for that. But this adventure, one of my favorites of all time, and definitely worth picking up. The other major product that I want to talk about is the City of Splendors Waterdeep. So this is the 3.5 D&D version of the City of Waterdeep, but I mean, I don't think a whole lot has necessarily changed other than some of the names involved, for example. But if you're interested in the City of Waterdeep, this is an absolutely excellent resource to get. So again, it's available print on demand. And Waterdeep is about to take a very important role in the D&D canon for the next, at least the next several months. Actually, probably for another year, I would almost say, depending on when they decide to release the next adventure book after Dungeon of the Mad Mage. But if I still think that the Waterdeep information that's going to be in Waterdeep Dragon Heist isn't necessarily going to be as detailed as something like this would have. So I highly recommend considering, at least considering, picking this up, even if it's just the PDF, to have access to a little bit more information. You may have to sort of fill in the gaps of what happened between 3.5 and 5th edition D&D as far as Waterdeep itself is concerned, but it was one of those cities that wasn't too horribly affected by the spell plague like other parts of Faerun were. So I think that if you were to pick this book up here through print on demand, or again just pick up the PDF, a lot of what's in here as far as the actual city itself, I mean, the layout's going to be the same. Some of the NPCs may have changed, but there's still a lot of really, really great information in here to run adventures or run a campaign inside of the City of Waterdeep itself. So again, this is another fairly well recommended product, especially if you're interested in the City of Waterdeep itself. And like I said, this is likely going to have a little bit more detail into it than what you may find with the Waterdeep Dragon Heist, depending on how much of that they dedicate to the adventures itself. I'm having trouble finding it, but there's like maps of the different wards of the city and stuff like that as well. I just haven't come across it, but a very, very comprehensive book when it comes to the City of Waterdeep itself. So both of these things, there we go. We got some maps here, but both of these things have been made available for print on demand just in the last few days. And I recommend both of these pretty strongly. If I had to choose between the two, I would honestly say pick up Red Handed Doom, because this thing is absolutely awesome. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out there. You can visit the DM's Guild and Drive Through RPG just by clicking on one of the links in the description below the video title. And if you check them out and decide to pick either them up or even something else from that site, it helps the channel out quite a bit, so I appreciate all that. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time. Take care.